Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Education, the most educated committee in the Nevada State Legislature. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members De Silva, here. Dahlia, here. DeLong, present. Flanagan, here. Hansen, here. Hardy, here. Hunt, here. Koenig, here. LaRue Hatch, here. Mosca, here. Orentlicker, here. Committee Chair Torres Fawcett.
Thank you. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining us in a packed room in Las Vegas, as well as those joining us online. If you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do not forget. There is still time. We have 60 days left of session. A couple housekeeping items before we get started. Please remember to silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide your business card to the committee staff. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name, spell your name, and state your affiliation, if any, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee staff by yesterday. Members of the public may provide testimony on a bill, either in person or by phone. Please see the meeting agenda for the telephone number and meeting ID. Meeting agenda and committee information is available on Nellis. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we do not agree with another person's position. As a reminder, committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents during this meeting. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. At this time, I know we have a couple items. I'm going to go ahead and start first with... We're going to start first with the bills. Before we get started, let me go ahead and tell you the order for the bills. We're going to go ahead and start with AB 501, and then I'm going to do the work session at the completion of that bill, and then I'll go to AB 445, AB 406, and then AB 412. So if you're here for those bills, that's our schedule for today. We will go ahead and open the hearing on AB 501. Please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett, Vice Chair De Silva, and members of the extremely hardworking and studious Assembly Committee on Education. I am Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9, which is located in Southwest Las Vegas, and I'm honored to co-present Assembly Bill 501 with my colleague, Majority Floor Leader Howdigi. Before I get started, I did just want to take an opportunity to say thank you to all of you. I think this is the first time I've been in front of this committee this session, and so I wanted to thank you for your hard work as we march towards the first committee passage. I know that you consider very weighty bills in this committee, and sometimes they go very long, so thank you for that work, and thank you to the staff as well for making that happen every day. So Assembly Bill 501, I believe, is an important step forward in integrating outdoor education into Nevada's public school system by authorizing academic credit for certain outdoor recreational activities completed outside of school hours. Outdoor education has long been recognized as a powerful tool for fostering critical life skills such as communication, resilience, curiosity, civic engagement, and problem solving. These skills align seamlessly with Nevada's Department of Education's Portrait of a Nevada Learner framework, which emphasizes holistic student development. Assembly Bill 501 builds on Nevada's and this body's strong commitment to outdoor learning following prior legislation like Assembly Bill 385 of the 2017 session, which provided free state parks access to our fifth graders, and the Outdoor Education and Recreation Grant Program established by AB 331 in 2019, which we affectionately called the No Child Left Inside Grant Program, and then it got an official government name later when it went into statute. And then just last session in 2023, this legislature appropriated $500,000 over the 23-25 biennium to that grant program. The grant program has already demonstrated success, supporting projects ranging from gardening to mountain biking, and benefits students in all 17 of Nevada's counties. Assembly Bill 501 in front of you today takes these efforts further by integrating outdoor experiences into formal education through academic credit. Assembly Bill 501 is also part of a broader effort to ensure all Nevada students benefit from outdoor education. It complements ongoing initiatives like this session's Assembly Bill 108, which proposes expansion of funding for the No Child Left Inside grant program. And this bill also aligns with recommendations from the Outdoor Education Advisory Working Group to integrate outdoor learning to pre-K through 12 education. I did want to thank Assembly Member Mosca for chairing that working group over the interim and doing some really, really good work. So at this time, Chair, with your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Floor Majority Leader Howdigi, who's going to provide a detailed breakdown of what the bill does and then provide some additional comments and support.
Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. I'm excited to be here in front of you. This is actually my first time in my legislative career presenting in front of the Assembly Committee on Education, so be nice. Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the Assembly Committee on Education, I'm Assembly Member Sandra Howdigi, and I represent Assembly District 41. With the background and context provided by Speaker Yeager, I will walk the committee through the bill. Section 1, subsection 1, authorizes the Board of Trustees of a school district and the governing body of a charter school to allow junior high, middle school, and high school students to receive academic credit for completing approved outdoor recreational activities outside of school hours. Any credits earned must count toward elective course requirements. Subsection 2 authorizes these entities to approve such academic credit and establishes criteria for approved outdoor activities. These activities must be completed outside of school hours, require a significant amount of time spent outdoors, and teach relevant skills such as identifying native plants and animals, trail building, habitat restoration, outdoor survival skills, hiking, archery, or bird watching. Subsection 3 requires the entities approving these activities to determine the maximum number of credits a student can earn through these activities, set rules for how students may apply for credit after completing an approved activity, and establish procedures for obtaining parental or legal guardian consent before student participation. Subsection 4 clarifies that the Board of Trustees of a school district and the governing body of a charter school are not required to provide, facilitate, or fund any outdoor recreational activities. And just to give some brief remarks now that I've walked the committee through the bill, Chair, Assembly Bill 501 addresses a growing need to integrate experimental learning into formal education. Outdoor education has been shown to improve student engagement and academic outcomes while promoting physical health and mental well-being. This is especially important at a time when Nevada's officials have been concerned with Nevada's chronic absenteeism numbers. And I'll give some examples of how this has improved absenteeism in other states. In Oregon's outdoor school program, teachers reported significant improvements in student engagement and academic support after participating in outdoor learning experiences. In Nevada, programs like the Great Basin Outdoor School have successfully used outdoor experimental learning to teach ecology while fostering a sense of environmental stewardship. This bill also supports equity by providing students from all backgrounds with opportunities to engage in meaningful outdoor experiences. By allowing academic credit for activities such as trail building or habitat restoration, AB 501 encourages students to develop practical skills while connecting with Nevada's diverse landscapes. Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to my co-presenter, Speaker Yeager.
Thank you, Steve Yeager, for the record. Just in conclusion, Chair, I wanted to mention, I know not every member of this committee serves on the Ways and Means Committee, but we had a subcommittee, I believe it was yesterday, it could have been the day before, these days all blend together, but we were talking about the capital improvement projects and the outdoor conservation bond program, and it was really heartwarming to me because it was just pages after pages of all the great things we're doing in the state when it comes to our state parks, whether it's Valley of Fire State Park, the Ice Age Fossil State Park, whether it's the trail system up the Tahoe Trail. And so it made me very excited about outdoor recreation in our state and all these wonderful opportunities. And obviously that can seem very far away when we're sitting in this building hours upon hours. But I wanted to let you all know that there is a lot of really amazing things happening in the state. And I think over the next few years, we're going to see a lot of that come online. So, Chair, in conclusion, I think this bill, Assembly Bill 501, empowers schools doesn't require them, but it empowers them to recognize the educational value of outdoor experience while fostering a greater appreciation for Nevada's natural environment. By integrating these experiences into formal education through academic credit, we can help students develop critical life skills that will serve them well beyond just the classroom. So we urge your support for Assembly Bill 501 as an important step toward expanding access to outdoor education in Nevada. We thank you for your time and consideration this afternoon, and Chair, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Assemblymember Hardy?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this bill. I think it's great to encourage our kids to get outside, away from the TV and the computer, and like you said, it might encourage them to go to school and be more present if they're doing something they like. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. So you said this is enabling, it's not mandating anything, and then the Board of Trustees of the school district, the charter school, they're approving like the activities that would be available to do this. We're not just saying, oh, a kid can go out and spend 10 hours, you know, doing something outside and that would count. It would be courses or activities approved by the board. Is that right?
Assemblymember Sandra Howdigi, for the record, that is correct, Assemblymember Hardy. So any school district who elects to participate, then they can come up with the curriculum, and some of the requirements are laid out in the bill that would qualify. Assembly Bill 108 was heard a few weeks ago in the Committee on Ways and Means, and it was really neat to get to see some of the outdoor activities that kids get to participate in that are funded through the Outdoor Recreation Grant Program. And so if you have the opportunity to kind of get an idea of like what outdoor activities these students would participate in, it's really neat to go see their exhibits because you see them learning about forestry or fire suppression, like different STEM programs, and you get to see some quotes about what it means to them, about how it teaches them to, you know, get along with their classmates who they might not have otherwise spent time outdoors with. So it's really neat.
Thank you. Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering, I noticed that it refers to students doing activities after school, and also that it's they can later apply for credit. So is there anywhere that there's an option that it could just be an option through the course curriculum? Is that a consideration, or is it only if they do it as an extracurricular activity and then ask for credit?
Steve Yeager, for the record. You know, I think what we were trying to do here is be very mindful, and you know, you've got some educators on this committee. Be mindful of not to make it something during school hours that would take away from all the other requirements that we have. Obviously, education is in a very uncertain place right now, so we don't know what those requirements may be going forward. But I think the vision here is it would be after school, outside normal hours, to earn credit through this program. Certainly, as Assemblymember Howdigi referenced, through that grant program we talked about, a lot of those activities are during the school day. So those would be available to students as well. But this is sort of, if you want to go get the credit, you have to go above and beyond outside of the school hours, so we make sure we're not taking students out of their normal classroom and learning environment and making teachers mad at us. And again, I envision, you know, the Board of Trustees, whether it's the school district or the charter school authority, would be able to kind of come up with the parameters of that. But it would truly be up to the student, you know, with appropriate parental consent and involvement to decide whether they wanted to pursue one of these activities outside of normal working hours.
Thank you. And I kind of wanted to hit on a point there, that because you mentioned like who creates that. And generally in state statute, when we have like a new course that is created, the State Board of Education would have to approve regulations for what that would look like. It would be my recommendation that the state board does something like that, and I'm happy to get you some like ideas of where that is and seen in other places in statute, just so that it was consistent. Because let's say I was doing bird watching in Washoe, the expectation for bird watching in Washoe should look the same as the expectation for bird watching in Clark. That's hard to say. And so I just want to make sure that there is some type of consistent standards. We'll continue going to questions. I know I have a number of people, so I'll go first to Assemblymember Hansen. Oh, I think
I'm
it's
good, thank you. I got my answers, thanks.
Thank you. Assemblymember Koenig.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for bringing this bill forward. I think it's a great idea, and everything we can do to encourage kids to get off their electronic devices and out in nature is wonderful. Having been a school board member for 12 years, I don't really have a question. I just want to appreciate that this came across as enabling language, and so the districts can do it if they want to, or if they need to, or if they can, but it's not something that they're being forced down their throat. So thank you for that.
Assemblymember Lower Hatch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for presenting this as an educator. I really do appreciate this, and I think there is a lot of value with getting our kids outside. But I really appreciate you recognizing the burden on our educators as well. The word that really stood out to me here is elective course, and so I wondered if you could just speak to the ways that we're still maintaining the standards of English and math and the other things that are required, and maintaining our high expectations even while allowing this elective credit.
Steve Yeager for the record. Thank you for those comments. And again, we haven't been in this building for a while, always mindful of putting mandates on folks that we already ask too much of. So we certainly didn't want to do that. But I think your question really goes to the gist of what this bill is. We don't want to take away from anything else that students are doing. We want them to be proficient in all those subjects, to meet all the requirements, to be spending time and focus on making sure they're passing their classes, they're doing their homework, they're getting tutoring if they need to. And so this really is just something on the side that, again, even if a school district or a charter school decides to allow it, the student doesn't have to do it. It truly is an elective that would complement what is already happening in the classroom. So this is not going to take away from those core subjects. And, we hope a lot of students will take advantage of it. And I think like any other program, if it gets established, what'll happen is it'll probably start out really slow. But once you have a couple students who do it and start talking to their friends and classmates about their experience, I think you're going to see this really catch on. And I think the beauty of it as well is just we have 17 different counties with lots of different outdoor experiences. So that gives, the counties and the charter school authority, which obviously is broader, to be able to decide what really works for them. So yes, to your question, we do not want to lessen any of the other standards on that core coursework. We just want to have this as an elective. And to Assemblymember Koenig's point, I think anything we can do to remove a student from that stressful environment, even for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just to get outside, to realize that there's more to life than just your books and your stress and what's going on. I think that is going to benefit, hopefully, Nevadans for generations to come.
Assemblymember Sandra Howdy, and just to add in again, we didn't want to touch on those core classes, but we wanted students to start thinking about like, hey, instead of choosing an elective that's indoors, why not take advantage of some of those outdoor recreation grant dollars and do a camping trip that they did, like one of the camping trips that they did that was a weekend-long camping trip for just girls, right? Choose something like that gets them outdoors and fills that elective credit.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Mosca.
Thank you, Chair, for a comment. I just wanted to thank you both for bringing this bill. And with the Outdoor Advisory Working Group, I just want to put on the record that we had a survey of over 700 individuals from throughout the state, and 99% of stakeholders said that it was very important for young people to spend time outside, and 92% of stakeholders wanted to make sure it was integrated in education. So thank you for taking feedback directly from our state and our community and putting it into a bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I don't see any additional questions or comments. Thank you so much for your presentation. At this time, we'll invite anyone wishing to testify in support of AB 501. Just like we will with the other bills today, we'll limit it to 20 minutes support, 20 minutes of opposition, 20 minutes neutral. Please keep your remarks brief. Feel free to say ditto because we're on crunch time. We have other bills being heard in other committees later on this afternoon. Please begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Brian Wallace of the Nevada State Education Association, who's been the voice of educators and support staff throughout Nevada for 125 years in all 17 counties. We would like to thank the Speaker for bringing this bill forth. As an outdoor enthusiast myself and an avid mountain biker, and I see the explosive growth of the NICA mountain bike teams at the high schools, this just makes sense, and we also appreciate giving each school districts that ability to decide if they can support it or not. Thank you.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Kalen Evans. I'm the president of the Washoe Education Association. We represent all the certified professionals in the Washoe County School District. I just wanted to say thank you to the Speaker for bringing this bill forward and his continued advocacy around outdoor learning for multiple sessions. I think the biggest thing as an educator myself that I focus on with students is engagement. And the reality is that students enjoy learning outside, and if we can get them engaged and get them out into other environments, then we're going to see not only an improvement on the academic success, but the overall emotional and behavioral success of our students as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson. I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We are here in strong support. NCL has been longtime advocates for getting more kids outside, and we think this is a great addition to getting even more. We have heard study after study and have heard directly from educators and students across the state that getting kids outside, having these outdoor education experiences lead to better mental and physical health. We've seen higher test scores, and we've also heard from teachers that after they have these experiences, they come back to school really rejuvenated and ready to learn, more ready to pay attention and get some of that work done, learn math and education and all of that as well. So we really urge the committee support, and we thank the sponsors for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przenski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and that's all the superintendents in the state are members of the organization. And we like this bill. Two things we really like: local control. You decide whether you want to participate in it or not. And secondly, as Assembly Member Conan pointed out, it gets these kids away from the computer. They shouldn't be able to take their cell phone out when they're supposed to be looking at birds, but that's another issue. So, any rate, we appreciate. Yeah, I'll take a picture. You're right. Any rate, we appreciate the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards, and I really want to thank Speaker Yeager and Assemblymember Hadegui for bringing forward this bill. Who knew that in 2019, when the Division of Outdoor Recreation was created by this body, that they would jump in with both feet and not just fund programs through Endor, but also look at the curriculums that we have in schools to see how we can encourage kids not just to get outside, but to truly experience the outdoor experience that you can have here in Nevada. And with bills like this, school districts across the state will be able to decide which of these activities fit within their curriculum. And you never know what's going to come from a kid going outside and learning on the conservation front, or learning about things and careers and activities that are outside in this beautiful state, whether it be with the state parks or the federal government or other places, just getting them outside. And if they get a little bit of credit for it through their school, that's fantastic too. So we very much support this bill on behalf of the Association of School Boards and encourage its passage. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Andrew McKay. I'm actually here in the capacity representing the Great Basin Wildlife Conservancy. That's a new NGO, and our focus exists really on multiple fronts, but primarily wildlife and habitat conservation and the promotion of the North American model for wildlife conservation. I'm also here as just a very proud fourth-generation native and huge outdoors person. Speaker Yeager, I wish this was in place 35 years ago when I was in high school, because the times we decided to cut school to go do this type of stuff, we could have got some credit for it. So, hey, a dollar late is better than, is a day late, dollar short. But anyway, Madam Chair, members of the committee, our organization enthusiastically supports this because this is something that, we think is going to be just wildly successful, no pun intended. But more importantly, this is something that's good for the entire state. And we are very, very excited and respectfully request the committee's support and approval of the measure. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Assembly Education Committee. My name is Nicole Flangas, Flangas, and I'm here today representing the Nevada Outdoor Business Coalition. Our mission is to promote outdoor recreation in our great state, traditionally through business and conservation, but another pillar within our organization is advocacy for outdoor recreation education. Building secondary education curriculum that supports outdoor conservation and education efforts allows students to incorporate a passion for the Nevada landscape with the hands-on experience for class credit. We ambitiously hope these same students continue on to support and even be part of the next generation of outdoor recreation entrepreneurs, but we urge your support of AB 501. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I am Sarah Adler with Silver State Government Relations, today representing the Coalition of Northern Nevada Independent Charter Schools. And I will say ditto, plus two things. This is particularly beneficial to charter schools, and we appreciate leadership in including charter schools in this because they don't have the same extent of facilities as traditional public schools. So this option will be highly beneficial to them. And then the second point to my former boss, Superintendent Przinski, is that they may use their phone outdoors to identify what is actually poison ivy versus another piece of vegetation, perhaps as part of their health education. So we support this bill. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I apologize for being late today. I was in the lobbyist room identifying what kind of animals were in that room. But I appreciate the team bringing this bill forward. Look forward to its passage, and this gives a great opportunity for our students, and we look forward to seeing it through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keating. A quick question. What kind of animals were you able to identify in the lobbyist room?
Brad Keating, for the record. I will leave that to all of you to decide moving forward.
Thank you. Seeing no further support here in Carson City, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of AB 501? I do not see any at this time. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 501?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 501, please press *9 now to join the queue.
Hello, Torres Boston, members of the Education Committee. My name is Gil Lopez here with the Charter School Association of Nevada, here in support of AB 501. And we would like to thank the sponsors for including ourselves in this piece of legislation and just ditto for the previous comments. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Chair, there are no additional callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to AB 501? I do not see any here in Carson City, nor do I see anyone approaching in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line?
Chair, there are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone wishing to testify neutral to AB 501? I do not see anyone here in Carson, nor do I see anyone in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify neutral to AB 501?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite the bill sponsors for any closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair. I walked by the lobbyist room and saw some lions and tigers and bears, so I don't know. Thank you, committee, for hearing Assembly Bill 501. I'm really proud to sponsor this and Assembly Bill 108 alongside Speaker Yeager because I really believe in getting outdoors and getting our children outdoors. I know firsthand that when I'm starting to feel overwhelmed and anxious in this building, all it takes is a walk outside of the Capitol Mall, and I feel better coming in, and I think this will do the same for our students. I was able to pull some of the numbers from what the outdoor education program was able to do for our students, and this was just in 2024 alone, and I'm hoping again that we're able to expand on this and get even more students outside. In 2024 alone, the Outdoor Education and Recreation Grant Program received 64 project proposals for $1.4 million, but we were only able to fund $250,000 for the year, but that impacted 10,944 students in the state of Nevada and allowed our students to spend 25,855 hours outdoors. And just some of the programs that I envisioned students getting credit for that were funded through the Outdoor Education and Recreation Grant Program are programs like birdwatching field trips at Washoe Lake that benefited Washoe County students, Girls in STEM camp event for Title I students that had participants from all counties in Nevada. There's also the Urban Nature Explorers program for Las Vegas minority students in Clark, and the Learning in and About and about Great Basin National Park that benefited students statewide, and school and field trip programs for rural students in Lion and Mineral. And these are the kind of programs I think students will elect for their electives if Assembly Bill 501 passes. Thank you.
And thank you, Chair Steve Yeager. For the record, I think some of you know, after the 2019 session, I made it a mission to visit every one of our state parks, which I was able to do over a period of months. And we have some amazing, amazing state parks. So I would recommend to all of you, hopefully we get out of here on time in June, but make it a priority if you haven't been to our state parks to see those parks. They're really wonderful. And I know for me, as much as I enjoy being in this building and seeing the animals in the lobbyist room and seeing all of you, the highlight of my day is usually when I get up in the morning and I try to go out for a run or a hike. The weather doesn't always allow it here, but it just brings a clarity of mind. It's fresh air. It's just a nice way to start the day and to release some of that stress. And so if that works for me, I know it's going to work for our students who are living in an increasingly complex and difficult world that is really hard to navigate right now, even for adults, let alone students. So I think this is a small step forward in achieving that. So I would urge your support for Assembly Bill 501. And thank you for the time this afternoon, Chair and Committee.
Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 501, and we will go ahead and move into the next item, which is our work session. And I'll go ahead and pass it to Ms. Lower to go over our first item on the work session, which is AB 153.
Thank you, Chair. Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. As a reminder, as nonpartisan staff, I may neither support nor oppose any measure before the committee. The first item on work session is Assembly Bill 153, which revises provisions relating to education of incarcerated persons. This is sponsored by Assembly Member Miller, and the committee heard this measure on March 25th. Assembly Bill 153 has one amendment proposed by Assembly Member Miller, which removes all language and requirements concerning the Board of Trustees of a school district and directs programming staff within the Department of Corrections to provide certain services, events, and information to certain inmates relating to financial planning, the FAFSA application process and application events, the FAFSA being the free application for federal student aid, or is that assistance? No, aid, sorry. One's right to financial aid, uses of financial aid, attainable career or job advisement upon release, coordination with colleges, universities, and library district staff to assist inmates with applications, informational meetings, registration, and other education or job training assistance. The amendment further clarifies that the Department of Corrections may continue the existing process relating to the allocation of student financial awards for incarcerated persons, and that applying for financial aid cannot be employed as a sanction or incentive for inmates. Each facility must annually report on the successes of the program to the department for transmittal to the legislature.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions on the amendment? With that, I will go ahead and accept a motion to amend and do pass AB 153. I have the motion from Vice Chair DeSilva. Do I have a second? I have the second from Assembly Member Dahlia. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? This motion does pass unanimously, and I will go ahead and assign that floor statement to Assembly Member Miller. We'll proceed with AB 335.
Thank you, Chair. Kelly Lower, for the record. Assembly Bill 335 is our next measure on work session. This revises provisions relating to education, sponsored by Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. The committee heard this bill on April 1st. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett proposed an amendment for AB 335 to make several changes, including change the Director of Multilingual Student Services throughout the bill to an administrator who works in the capacity to serve English learners, and remove the county population requirement above which a school district in a county must staff such a position. Add that the data collected and maintained for the statewide system of accountability must be disaggregated to show subcategories of English learners. Increase from 8 to 10 the number of semesters a pupil who is an English learner may remain in high school beyond the date they would otherwise graduate. Revise the membership of the English Learner Advisory Council and change the reporting date for the council from December 31, 2026 to October 31, 2026. And remove language relating to holding a valid teaching license in reference to the English language acquisition training requirements, clarifying that this training is not a requirement for teaching licensure.
Members, at this time, is there any additional questions on this amendment? We will proceed. I will accept a motion to amend and do pass. I have the motion from Vice Chair DeSilva. Do I have a second? I have a second from Assemblymember Hunt. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? This motion does carry and pass unanimously, and I'll go ahead and assign that floor statement to myself. We'll proceed with AB 391.
Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. Assembly Bill 391 revises provisions governing annual reports of accountability of public schools. Assemblymember Miller proposed 2 amendments for this measure. The first amendment deletes Section 1, subsection 1, paragraph H, and Section 2, subsection 8, regarding the reporting of pupil achievement data disaggregated by certain groups for pupils whose core instruction has been delivered by someone other than a licensed teacher for 4 or more consecutive weeks. Additionally, this amendment clarifies that information on pupil achievement data among pupils with more than 10 absences prior to the administration of the exam that school year must be disaggregated by certain groups and reported. And the second amendment proposed by Assemblymember Miller adds definitions for the terms absence and dates for use in calculating the number of absences over 10 that a pupil has during the time period after the first day of school and prior to the first day of exam administration.
Members, are there any questions on the amendment? Seeing no questions, I will go ahead and accept a motion to amend and do pass AB 391. I have the motion from Assemblymember Dahlia. Do I have a second? I have the second from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? This motion does carry and pass unanimously. I'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. The next measure on work session is Assembly Bill 397, which revises provisions relating to higher education. The committee heard this bill on March 20th. Assembly Bill 397 requires the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education, or NSHE, to grant a waiver of certain registration and laboratory fees for certain students experiencing homelessness. The board must request certain documentation from a student awarded such a waiver, and the waiver must be equal to the balance remaining each semester after federal educational benefits owed to the student have been credited. Students granted such a waiver are deemed a bona fide resident of the state, and for the purposes of assessing tuition and certain other fees. Certain provisions relating to a fee waiver the Board of Regents may grant for homeless or unaccompanied pupils are removed. Several sections of Chapter 396 of the Nevada relating to Nevada System of Higher Education of Nevada Revised Statutes, which relate to mineral, soil, and water testing at NSHE institutions, are repealed. There are no amendments for this measure.
Members, are there any questions? Well, there's no amendment, so I don't think there's questions on this amendment. So I'll go ahead and accept a motion to do pass. I have the motion from Assemblymember Mosca, and I have a second from Assemblymember Hanson. Any further discussion? There was like a war for motions, so congrats. All right, we'll go ahead and proceed with a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? This motion does carry and pass unanimously, and I'll assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Watts.
Kelly Lower, Committee Policy Analyst. The last measure on work session is Assembly Bill 494, which revises provisions relating to education. The committee heard this bill on April 1st. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett proposed an amendment for this bill, adding the following provisions. 1, to include the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, as most recently reauthorized by the Every Student Succeeds Act, in addition to the federal laws that would continue to apply in Nevada in the event of a federal repeal as a result of the bill. 2, require the approval of the Interim Finance Committee before the acceptance of any block grants for K-12 education purposes, and as a condition of such approval, require the IFC, Interim Finance Committee, to determine that the block grant would continue to be used to support programs that are currently funded using federal money. Number 3, require Nevada's Department of Education to adopt any regulations necessary to facilitate the implementation at a state level of the federal laws included in the bill within 6 months after the repeal of any such federal law. Number 4, grant the Nevada Department of Education any necessary enforcement authority to carry out the federal acts included in this measure if federal law changes to eliminate the United States Department of Education or transfer its enforcement duties to another entity. And 5, require that if the federal government were to repeal certain federal laws and regulations, the provisions of said laws and regulations as they existed on January 1, 2025 would continue to apply in Nevada, and change the effective date of this measure to upon passage and approval. And I will note for the record that the last three provisions, number 4, 5, and 6, were added at the request of the chair. They are not in the amendment attached. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions of the amendment? We'll go ahead and proceed. At this time, I'll accept a motion to amend and do pass. I have a motion from Vice Chair DeSilva. Do I have a second? I have the second from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. Any further discussion? Yes, Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to make sure we got on the record our current understanding of where U.S. Department of Education funding is headed. So based on a March 20th, 2025 Associated Press article, the administration will close the department beyond its core necessities, but preserve the responsibilities for funding Title I for low-income schools, Pell Grants, and monies for children with disabilities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I do want to just comment on, obviously, the federal government has been very volatile. What's happening from day to day can't be expected. In fact, I just got a notification that, K-12 schools are going to have to sign a certification against diversity, equity, and inclusion to receive federal money. So, obviously, the state of our federal Department of Education has been more volatile than ever. There has been discussion at a federal level about moving the responsibilities to other agencies that do not currently have oversight over education. The challenge would be then that there would be no enforcing agency, or the possibility that we would lose that enforcing agency. AB 494 seeks to ensure that there continues to be access to these rights as they are guaranteed today. So this is about protecting Nevada students and making sure that they continue to have this access to high quality education, and ensuring that the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. don't have the ability to control the quality of education here in Nevada, and taking a stand to ensure that these students have this access, especially our most vulnerable student populations. As an educator, I don't want to see a day where my students with disabilities don't have access to that quality. I also don't want to see a day where my English language learners don't have that access. And here in the state of Nevada today, we have the responsibility to protect that. And I think AB 494 just that. Is there any further discussion? At this time, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Can I have the opposed, please raise your hands. Assemblymember Koenig, Assemblymember DeLong, Assemblymember Hardy, and Assemblymember Hansen. And I apologize, who made the motion? Oh, the Vice Chair DeSilva, and then I had the second from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch. Thank you. All right, at this time, AB 494 does pass, and I will assign that floor statement to myself. And we'll go ahead and close the work session for today. And we'll go ahead and open our next hearing, which is on AB 445. I know the bill presenter is here. Please begin when you're ready. And I know you have a special guest, so welcome to our committee. We're excited to have you here.
Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett and committee members. For the record, I am Danielle Monroe Moreno. I represent Assembly District 1, which is in Clark County, primarily in the city of North Las Vegas. I will be presenting today, along with my special guest, Assembly Bill 444, which revises provisions related to libraries. And alongside of me I'm proud to have my session intern, UNR student, Brandon Kyle, who's also from Southern Nevada, and joining us in Las Vegas, and if they're in the audience, they can come on up to the table now, our two subject matter experts, which are two local librarians, Dr. Nicole Beer and Robin Carpenter. As many of you know, access to across the United States, we're seeing a growing amount of challenges to various pieces of literature, often arising due to concerns over what's appropriate, language, or themes related to race, gender, and history. While some parents and community members advocate for restrictions on certain books, others argue that it limits intellectual freedom and hinders students' access to diverse perspectives. In Nevada, Assembly Bill 445 can ensure a balanced approach to literature by outlining a process schools and libraries can follow to deliberate and determine what literature should remain on their shelves. AB 445 can help safeguard students across a wide range of books while allowing local educators and community stakeholders to make informed decisions about their libraries and curriculum. By providing protections for teachers, librarians, and school staff, such policies can prevent undue pressure or punitive actions against those who facilitate access to literature. We'll note that, lastly, there is an amendment that should be getting passed out to you. I'm hoping that it's been uploaded. It makes various revisions to the bill to further localize the facilitation of this process. And I will let our two subject matter experts later in today's discussion discuss the amendment because it came at their suggestion.
Thank you. And I just wanted to let you know because there was some confusion. We did have this amendment ahead of time.
Oh,
so just so you
perfect.
know, members did have it access.
Thank you. We wanted to make sure. So the goal is to empower the community stakeholders, educators, and libraries to make decisions based on educational merit and to ensure that Nevada students receive a well-rounded education that fosters critical thinking, creativity, and understanding of diverse experiences. This piece of legislation is important to me, and it's been a discussion in my household for a few years now. My husband's a retired college professor from UNR. Our oldest son is a professor. He's currently teaching in London. Our oldest daughter is a special education teacher, and she is a teacher in California. So this discussion about books comes up often. I started reading to my children while I was pregnant. And my oldest daughter, maybe that's why she's a teacher, books calmed her down. With my grandchildren, it's the thing that we explore and go on vacations just by reading a book. You can learn so much, and it takes you to so many places, and we've learned so much about different cultures in our very diverse family. I want to make sure that that is something that every child has available to them. And as the mom and the wife of educators, wanting to make sure that safeguards are put in for them in doing their daily jobs. So when the librarians came to me with this proposed legislation, I jumped at the opportunity. And in sharing it with Brandon, love that, the fact that he jumped right in. He has done the research on this. I believe that our jobs as legislators, and I've said it before in this committee, is to mentor the next set of leaders, and I see that in Brandon. So I am going to turn it over, this presentation, with your permission, Madam Chair, to Mr. Kyle.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Brandon Kyle. Brandon, B-R-A-N-D-O-N. Kyle, K-Y-L-E. We are excited to be here and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Like I said, my name is Brandon Kyle. I am a senior at the University of Nevada, Reno, and an intern for Assemblymember Monroe Moreno for the 83rd Nevada Legislative Session. By the grace of the office of Assemblymember Monroe Moreno, I'm here to present Assembly Bill 445, which revises provisions related to libraries. In particular, this bill establishes a model policy to protect access to library materials in both public schools and public libraries, and creates protections for librarians tasked with maintaining diverse library collections. AB 445 is important for promoting equitable statewide access to diverse reading material, establishing a transparent baseline for how library collections are governed, and ensuring that library collections are as diverse as the communities they serve. This bill will help promote access to diverse perspectives, protect the intellectual curiosity of pupils, patrons, and community members, and particularly empower schools and public libraries to decide for themselves through informed decision-making and a structured process what material is appropriate for their students or clients. Before we move on, some background information is important. During the 2023 to 2024 academic year, 10,000 book restrictions were reported across the United States, a threefold increase from the previous academic year. Overall, 41 states and 247 school districts have restricted the material available on their bookshelves in some meaningful way. This despite the fact that a majority of voters and parents, approximately 67%, oppose book removals in school libraries. To be direct, many of the concerns expressed by policymakers or community members who object to certain, quote, controversial media are based on personal disagreement with the viewpoint expressed in the material instead of genuine violations of obscenity laws or laws governing obscenity involving minors. The majority of books, upwards of 59% in fact, targeted for removal have been children's books that feature diverse characters, such as those from queer or racial backgrounds, or nonfiction books about historical figures and social movements. Worryingly, authors of color are disproportionately targeted by book challenges, representing 39% of restricted books despite making up just 10% of U.S. authors. Protections against the marginalization of media that represent diverse perspectives and the identities of authors involved with the publication are more necessary now than ever. Throughout the country, librarians in public schools and public libraries have expressed concern about performing their duties in accordance with their education and licensure. 7 states, including but not limited to Arkansas, Indiana, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, have introduced penalties that punish librarians with fines or, in some cases, criminal prosecution for maintaining diverse collection material. However, there is a bright side. Several states, including Colorado, Illinois, Washington, Vermont, California, Minnesota, and New Jersey, have taken action to prevent book restrictions and protect librarians. This is a nationwide problem that necessitates policy solutions. Nevada can be the next to join a coalition of states that maintain intellectual freedom and give licensed professionals room to breathe. It is essential that libraries, as both voluntary associations and sources of critical inquiry, remain protected spaces. We will now review the key provisions within the bill. It is organized into 2 main sections, and a conceptual amendment has been introduced, which we happily heard that you guys have received, which will be addressed at the end of Section 1. Section 1 of this bill directs the Nevada Department of Education to develop a model policy governing student access to school library materials. This policy must include guidelines for the curation of library collections that maintain access to a diverse range of ideas, perspectives, and stories, prohibit censorship based on personal beliefs or the author's identity of age-appropriate library material, ensure pupils are allowed to access diverse and inclusive material that is age-appropriate, and establish a criterion for the removal of certain library materials. Furthermore, Section 1 outlines that the process for removal must 1. Follow the creation of a request for removal form that can be accessed by employees, pupils, or legal guardians of a pupil within a school district. 2. Establish a review committee to provide a determination about the appropriateness of the contested material. 3. Include the preparation of a written report explaining the rationale for whether the material should be restricted or remain in circulation. 4. Prohibit subsequent requests from being resubmitted for a specified period of time. 5. Prevent determinations from being made based on disagreement with the viewpoint expressed in the material or the identity of the author or perceived audience. And finally, 6. Create a process to appeal decisions reached by review committees. Notably, each school district and the governing body of charter schools is free to either adopt the model policy created by the Department of Education or create their own model policies in accordance with this bill. Finally, Section 1 creates civil and criminal protections for librarians who perform their duties in accordance with AB 445. Our proposed amendment would limit removal requests to the individual school level, require the principal to submit removal forms to a school-based library committee instead of the district superintendent, changes the review committee to include the school librarian, 3 teachers who teach the relevant school, and 2 parents or legal guardians of a pupil enrolled at that relevant school. Expand protections for librarians to include protection against discipline, dismissal, involuntary transfer, and fines. And finally, increase the time period for subsequent challenges from 1 year to 3 years in public schools. Now, transitioning to Section 2, this section extends many of the same protections procedures to public libraries. The State Library, Archives, and Public Records Administrator is instructed to develop a model policy to govern access to library materials for patrons of a public library. Similarly, this model policy must prioritize accessibility to library materials that present a diverse range of information, including diverse and inclusive materials, prohibit censorship of library materials, ensure residents served by the library are allowed to access diverse and inclusive materials, and establish a criterion for the removal of certain library materials. The removal process outlined in Section 2 indicates that the process for removal has to follow some guidelines, some of which are 1. A request for removal form must be made available that is accessible to those residing within the specific municipality served by the library. Establish a review committee to provide a determination about the appropriateness of the contested material. Mandate the preparation of a written report explaining the rationale for whether the material should be restricted or remain in circulation, which is then submitted to the governing body of the public library. 4. Require the governing body of the library to have the final determination over whether to censor the material. 5. Prohibit subsequent requests for material from being submitted for 5 years. And 6. Prevent determinations from being made based on disagreement with the viewpoint expressed in the material or the identity of the author or perceived audience. Likewise, staff members of a public library are immune from civil or criminal liability for duties performed in compliance with the model policy constructed by the State Library Archives and Public Records Administrator. In closing, we thank you for your time. We believe AB 445 is a timely solution to timely problems. We understand there may be questions and appreciate any insight into how AB 445 can work to the benefit of all. Now, I will turn our presentation over to our co-presenters, Dr. Nicole Beer and Robin Carpenter.
Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Assembly Member and Mr. Kyle. Thank you, Chair Torres and Committee. For the record, my name is Dr. Nicole, Nichole, Beer, Beer. I'm representing Read Freely, Nevada. I'm also a proud CCSD teacher librarian and NSEA member, and the proud mother of a CCSD school psychologist. You could say that education's a family business. Our organization was founded by myself and 3 other Clark County School District librarians. We thank you for the opportunity to come before you today from Las Vegas. Thank you again to Assemblymember Monroe Moreno and her staff for the chance to work on this incredible, progressive, and wonderful piece of legislation. I have served both the Washoe County School District and the Clark County School District as a teacher librarian. The last 11 years, I have been the librarian at Ronaldo Martinez Elementary in North Las Vegas. 99% of my students and their families are from historically disenfranchised communities and live below the poverty level. Long before it was mandated, I made certain that I used the funds allocated to the library in order to enrich the library with materials that mirrored our students. You see, you can't be what you can't see. As a child of the inner city myself, I know firsthand how things like incarceration of a parent and poverty can affect you. I was that child. Adult problems surrounded me, but books in the library always gave me hope. PEN America, the largest book think tank in America, recorded over 10,000 book challenges in the 23-24 school year. Of those 10,000, 44% were of people of color. I repeat, 44% of the books that were banned were from people who were of color, followed by 39% that were about characters from the LGBTQIA community. Many in this country and state would love you to believe that this is just a war on the queer community, as if that wasn't bad enough. The data proves that censorship goals are to erase the accomplishments of people of color. Well, I can tell you the Nevada library community will not allow them to succeed. This bill protects everybody, the community, educators, and most importantly, our children. The bill provides for a transparent model system in which Nevadans make decisions about our libraries, and not fringe groups that wish to whitewash history and marginalize our students, their families, and educators. I ask you to please support AB 445. Lastly, Read Freely is always happy to educate folks about censorship, book bans, and librarianship. We can be reached by any of you at readfreelynevada@gmail.com. If this committee has any questions, I would be happy, after my colleague Robin Carpenter speaks, to try and answer them at this time. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Education Committee. My name is Robin Carpenter, ROBINCARPENTER, and I am a certified teacher librarian in the Clark County School District. I am thrilled to be here with you today during National School Library Month to express my support for Assembly Bill 445 and to tell you that my school library colleagues are as excited about it as I am. I'm grateful to Assemblymember Monroe Moreno and her staff for crafting a piece of legislation that affirms the rights of students in Nevada to read and access the whole host of books and information essential to their education and their intellectual and emotional growth. Ensuring that students are able to learn accurate facts and history and explore diverse literature fosters critical thinking and understanding. By providing safeguards against would-be censorship and book bans, Nevada is taking a stand against limiting students' access to knowledge and understanding about themselves, their families and communities, and the world in which they live. I have been both an elementary school and a middle school librarian, working in Title I schools that were majority Hispanic or majority African American. I have had students and parents who are members of the LGBTQIA community. All students deserve to see themselves, their cultures, and their histories accurately represented in their school libraries. Students need to know what people like them and like their families have achieved so that they can dream of doing even more for themselves, their communities, and our state. Our libraries must provide, in the words of Dr. Rudine Sims, windows, mirrors, and sliding doors for all of Nevada's students. Teacher librarians and other educators in Nevada are professionals who are trained to select age-appropriate materials that embrace a wide range of ideas, opinions, and perspectives. AB 445 protects them from civil, criminal, and job-related penalties for literally doing the job the state licenses them to do. It ensures that collections in libraries adhere to best practices rather than be subject to politically motivated ideology and censorship. While we agree that parents have the right to guide their own students' reading choices, we fundamentally disagree that they have the right to restrict access to books and information for anyone else's children. AB 445 provides for a uniform, consistent, and transparent process for evaluating book challenges, one that is decided at the local level by school administrators, librarians, educators, and parents, not by politicians. Excellence is our goal for public education in Nevada, and Assembly Bill 445 affirms our state's commitment to intellectual freedom, support for the diversity of all of our students, their families and communities, and respect for our professional educators. Thank you.
Danielle Monroe Moreno, for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair. We will stand for questions.
Thank you. And I just want to thank our first-time presenters today. You did a phenomenal job here with us in Carson, and thank you to the librarians in Las Vegas for all the work that you do. I still remember to this day that my middle school librarian, Miss Pribble, that was my safe place, was the library, and I spent a lot of time in there. So I really appreciate all the work that you do for our students in our schools. At this time, we'll go ahead and open it up to any question. Members, any questions? Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Assemblymember Monroe Moreno, for bringing this bill forward. And for our first-time presenter, you did a great job today. So I just had a quick point of clarification. So there's a appeal process, correct? And if once a decision is made for schools, you can't go back and revisit that decision for 1 year. And for public libraries, it'll be 5 years, correct? So there'll be a sort of moratorium.
Brandon Kyle for the record. So yes, you will be able to appeal a decision. And per our conceptual amendment, the 1 year limitation has been changed to be 3 years for public schools, and then yes, 5 years in the case of public libraries.
Assemblymember Lewis Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for bringing this. I really, really appreciate the intent of protecting materials for our students. You know, as a teacher, I think that is so critical. I just have a question on the implementation, especially in schools. So at my high school where I teach, we get often form letters, or there are campaigns to remove books. And so we will get every week literally hundreds of books that are requested to be removed. And so I'm just thinking through this process. If we have to meet and write a report for every single one of those books, that will be, I think, our only job from then on. I understand there's a 3-year limitation. So once we've said they're staying on the shelf, we don't have to do it again for 3 years. But I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that workload initially when we're going through this.
Well, fortunately, we think we solved back for that. Oh, you're right. Brandon Kyle for the record. Fortunately, I think we are kind of able to solve back for that in two key ways. The first of which is that, per our conceptual amendment, only those who have a pupil enrolled in the school itself will be able to submit requests for removal. Oftentimes what we see now is that people who don't have pupils enrolled in the school, or those who aren't even from the school district, are submitting these requests. So that may limit the burdens that you're talking about there. And then secondly, we are able to consolidate the requests for the same books into one overall decision. So if you're getting the same kind of request for similar or the same material, then you'll be able to consolidate that and issue a statement on that per the review committee.
And I appreciate that you're putting in some safeguards. I do know, we will have a parent who literally submits 600 books at a time. And so that initial, we have to review 600 books is going to be a long, long meeting. And so I just wondered about your thoughts on that.
Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. When I thought about it, with the school-based library committee, that committee could establish its policies and how they would do it, what works best for that school. Because what works best for a school in Assembly District 1 may not work best for a school in Assembly District 12. I believe because it's school-based, they should make the policies of how they are going to enact this policy.
In Las Vegas, Dr. Beer for the record. Assembly Member DeLahatch, yes, we are getting that same kind of blanket challenges here in Las Vegas, in Clark County. We think that this bill, while it might not solve the stakeholder who may want to challenge 600 books, it does give that local control. And so we do think that it will be a much more manageable system, especially for some of those districts who haven't thought about even being equipped with a committee. So we think that this is probably the best that we can do based on that impetus for us to want it to be locally done at the site.
Thank you. I had a question. Could maybe one of the librarians there can help answer this, but what is the current process right now in Southern Nevada?
Robin Carpenter, for the record. Madam Chair, our current policy in the Clark County School District is almost exactly the policy that you see in front of you. We have certainly had librarians that we are colleagues with have gone through the challenge process. It is, unfortunately, can be extremely time consuming, but we take it seriously. So it's not a, quick 30-minute meeting and we make a decision. All the members of the committee are provided with non-biased reviews of the books. The process is that the book cannot be judged in part or by portion. So unfortunately, if it's a novel, it's going to be some reading for every member of the committee because the materials have to be judged as a whole. And it can take, I think the last time we checked, maybe 55 to 60 hours worth of work by all the members of that committee. But again, we are hopeful that because a lot of the challenges that we have already seen have been from people who are not stakeholders in that school, not even stakeholders in the district. They don't have students enrolled anywhere within our district. So again, we might not be able to eliminate that completely, but we do hope that by requiring them to be a stakeholder, we can at least cut down on some of those challenges. And again, if 6 different high schools across the school district all have a challenge on the same book, then being able to consolidate them will be helpful.
Thank you.
And I did want to add, Dr. Beer, for the record, I did want to add that we estimate that each book challenge costs between $6,500 and $8,000 for a school district in terms of wages and compensation for those staff members, administrators, and so forth. So this would alleviate outside groups putting in blanket book challenges that will ultimately come from the dime of Nevada taxpayers. So it helps with that.
Thank you. And I think the CCSD lobbyist had said that he wanted to reach out. Brad, Mr. Keating, do you want to go ahead and just chime in on some of the policy updates? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Brad Keating for the record. To Ms. Beer, Ms. Carpenter, thank you for what you do every single day in the Clark County School District. We truly, I value and appreciate it. And my son who goes to school talks about his librarian every single day. So wanted to just walk through. I've pulled it up on my side just to clarify. Regulation 6150 is the policy that's been outlined by the Clark County School District. That allows the superintendent appoints a committee. That committee is consisted of the principal, teacher librarian of the school, a teacher, as well as a parent. The committee then has a certain time to review those materials. After that period of time, the Board of Trustees then reviews that material, the report submitted, and then they make a determination at the very end of that process. So it's a mix, not only at the school level, we've got a few central office people in there just to ensure some parity across the board, if that helps.
Thank you.
For the record, first of all, it's Dr. Nicole Beer, Mr. Keating, not Miss, but I digress. Yes, Robin and I were instrumental in rewriting 6150, so we pretty much know that one inside and out. Yes, there is some oversight at the district level, but the library committees exist, appointed and selected in conjunction with both the librarian and the principal. So the appeal process, I believe, is what Mr. Keating is referring to in 6150, should a stakeholder want to appeal the process. So just to clear that up a little bit, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keating, for your remarks. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. I had a library science elective class in high school, and it was long before anything was digitized, the Dewey Decimal System like this. So, love libraries. My husband grew up next door to the Sparks Library. Our house has 14 bookcases. We love books. I actually want to just understand a little bit more, really, and I don't know actually if those of you here at the table and Carson can answer, so maybe our folks down in Vegas could. I'm just curious. Well, first of all, this one, if it's okay, Chair, I have two questions. They're kind of related. The first one is, do school library committees already exist, or is that what would come out of this legislation?
With the library.
Is it okay for me to go?
You can.
Is it okay? Okay. Dr. Beer, for the record. Assemblymember Hanson, yes, I taught at Robert Mitchell in Sparks. I know you know where Robert Mitchell is, right by Scoopers. But anyway, yes, so every school already has a library committee that's functioning here in CCSD. I'm not sure what the policies are in the other districts, but again, this is why the beauty of this bill is they've really created a model for that. And so do school districts that don't have it can look to this piece of legislation and know exactly how they need to set it up. But yes, we're already compliant with something that looks very close to this here, Assemblymember Hanson. Thank you for the question.
And Robin Carpenter, for the record, if I could just add, in our school district anyway, the school-based library committee, that is set up ahead of time. It is not in reaction to a book challenge. So every school is required to have a school library committee, and they are there, of course, in case there is a book challenge. But I might just add also that they are there to review and approve the selection policy that the school librarian develops for how he or she is going to select books for the school library. So even at the selection step, that is not one person that is deciding that. That is the school librarian in conjunction with the members of the school library committee. So the selection process is transparent and is determined by more than one person. And then the committee exists also in case there are challenges to something in the school library.
Thank you. That really helped me understand how it works, how you're getting books, just stocking the library. The second part that I wanted to ask about is in the amendment, and it deals with, let me find it. I'm sorry, it's a little harder when I'm looking at it this way. It is Section 1, or Section 1, subsection 2, when we get to the part where we start to talk about, sub 5, if the request for the removal of the library materials was submitted by a pupil enrolled at the school in grade 9, 10, 11, 12, at the discretion of the principal of the school or charter school, one pupil enrolled in grade 9 through 12, or the charter school is applicable. I'm just curious, you still, when it gets into the older grades, you still have the parents, the two parents, the three teachers, that structure still exists, but then you add a pupil to that? Is that what I'm reading?
Robin Carpenter for the record. Yes, and that's really at the discretion of the principal as this has been amended. High schools, those are students who, may have something to contribute to their school library committee in the case of a book challenge. So if obviously this is high school, since we're talking about grades 9 through 12, the principal could add, in addition to all of the members of the school library committee that would be there in any other instance, they could add one high school student to their committee.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblymember Lower Hatch.
Thank you so much, Chair. I would just like to ask about the public library side of it. I noticed that in here it says that they will report to the governing body, and I just wasn't sure, is that the library board or is that the county commission? And is that already in process or is that a new process?
Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. It varies by local municipalities who the libraries report to. In some cities, it's to the city council, and others it's county commissions, but it varies. Right? And in some locations, there's already a process in place.
Members, any additional questions? I did have one additional question because I think the way this bill is written, it refers to school libraries. Is the intent of this piece of legislation to also capture classroom libraries that individual teachers might have?
Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. Yes, because in some schools, unfortunately, they don't have a library or a librarian, and the only library is in the classroom that the teacher has for their students. So this would be applicable to that as well.
Thank you, and we can continue that conversation offline. I just know, I know a number of English teachers that have classrooms of their own, and I just think that there might be some challenges, but I'm happy to have a conversation about what that looks like. Members, any additional questions? Doesn't look like there are any. Thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate it. And great job on your first presentation here in Carson City.
Next leader.
At this time, I'll invite anyone wishing to testify in support to AB 445.
Good afternoon. Alexander Marks of the Nevada State Education Association. NSA supports AB 445, which requires the Department of Education to develop a model library policy that prohibits censorship of library materials, ensuring students can access materials that are appropriate for their age and grade level. NSA represents school librarians like Dr. Beers, who play a vital role in supporting students, teachers, and the entire school community by promoting literacy, research skills, and access to information. School librarians provide a broad range of materials representing different perspectives, cultures, and ideas, fostering inclusivity and critical thinking. AB 445 is a necessary safeguard to intellectual freedom. Students should be able to access a wide range of ideas, perspectives, and information at schools. Restricting materials limits their ability to think critically and form their own opinions. As censorship efforts have targeted materials about marginalized communities, it's important for Nevada to respect and affirm diversity by ensuring a variety of cultures, experiences, and viewpoints are represented in the materials taught to students. We ask for your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Sarah Adler with Silver State Government Relations, and again today representing the Coalition of Independent Charter Schools of Northern Nevada. So they asked me to support this bill because on Tuesday it was Charter School Day, and for a few moments your committee was disrupted by a couple of those kids, but the rest of them were next door watching in the overflow room. And those 25 kids from 4 different schools definitely represented diverse students. And the libraries and their schools should have the opportunity to reflect the kids who are within the classrooms. So we appreciate Assemblymember Monroe Moreno bringing this bill. It's very exciting to listen to the passionate librarians in Las Vegas. Mrs. Henry was my librarian in elementary school. She definitely was formative of the person who comes before you now. So thank you very much.
I don't see anybody else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support of AB 445. I'll go ahead and go to Las Vegas. Please begin when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Malcolm Greer, and I am in support of AB 445. AB 445 strikes a careful balance between preserving open access to school library materials and respecting age appropriateness. By prohibiting censorship based on personal bias and establishing a clear step-by-step process for challenging content, the bill protects intellectual freedom while ensuring transparency. It also shields librarians from liability for good faith actions. This measure fosters diverse, inclusive collections for students and communities alike. And I urge the passage of AB 445. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 445?
To provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 445, please press star 9 now to join the queue.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shelby Swartz, SHELBIE SWARTZ, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress. We are here in strong support of AB 445 because it protects fair access, transparency, library staff, and educational diversity in Nevada's libraries. Across the country, we've seen increasing efforts to ban books and limit access to diverse ideas. AB 445 ensures that no one group can dictate what others can or cannot read. Libraries are meant to serve everyone, reflecting diverse perspectives and fostering critical thinking. This bill ensures that our children and communities can learn freely without fear of ideology-driven censorship. I urge you to pass AB 445 and affirm Nevada's commitment to intellectual freedom and open access to information. Thank you.
Good day, Chair. It's always good to hear your vibrant and strong, resilient voice. This is Dora Martinez. So good day to you and rest of the awesome committee. And thank you to the sponsor of this bill. And we urge you to pass the bill. Again, this is Dora Martinez, and thank you.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone else on the line?
Thank you, Chair. There are no additional callers to testify at this time.
Thank you. It looks like we missed somebody here in Carson City, so I'll go ahead and pass it over to Ms. Przinski when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and my apologies for having to be in another room to testify. It's a busy day, as you well know. For the record, my name is Mary Przinski, here representing the Nevada Association of School Superintendents. We're in support of the bill as amended, and really appreciate, once again, local control, our citizens in our own communities able to make decisions on what's in the library. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else wishing to testify in support at this time. We'll go ahead and go to opposition. Is there anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 445? Seeing none here in Carson City nor in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to AB 445?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide testimony in opposition at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and go to neutral. Is there anyone wishing to testify neutral to AB 445? Seeing none in Carson or in Las Vegas, ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify neutral to AB 445?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. With that, I'll invite the bill sponsor for any closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair Fawcett and Committee. Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. Chair Fawcett, I would like to go back to the question that you asked about the teacher's classroom. While I sat back there, I got texts from a few of the teachers in my district, as well as my daughter, who is watching in her class. And she has I wouldn't say a library, but a corner in her classroom because a number of her students, parents don't have the ability to buy books and they can just take a book home and bring it back in exchange. So if we need to put clarifying language in this policy that those little small corner libraries in the teacher's classroom does not have to adhere to the policies within this piece of legislation, I'd love for you to help me write that amendment for the work session so that they would be excluded from that. And I thank you all for listening to us today, for being so kind to Mr. Kyle. I think he is an amazing student. Unfortunately, he didn't go to UNLV, but at UNR, and we represent all our schools and love them all equally. But he is a dynamic young man who's going to be a future leader, I believe, in this building. So we urge your support for AB 445.
Thank you for that clarification. We'll go ahead and reach out to you, and I'll make sure that we schedule some time with my office and yours, Mr. Kyle, so that we could get that scheduled. And with that, we'll close the hearing and say, go Pack. Great job. Congratulations. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to the next bill on the agenda today, and that is AB 406. I see the sponsor here, so please begin when you're ready. And I do want to, as we kind of are in the middle of this transition, I know that other legislative committees are going to begin today at, is it 3:30? At 4 today. So members may have to leave in the next hour or so. So please, if you see a member have to leave for a bill presentation or something else, please do not view that as a sign of disrespect. It's a busy time. We have only a week and a day for till deadline day. So there's a lot of going on in this building. So when you're ready, please begin.
Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the Education Committee, the most educated committee. I am Jovan Jackson, representing Assembly District 6. Joining me today is Kyle Hillman, Executive Director of the National Association of Social Workers, and Tez Offerman, Director of Government Affairs for Opinion Public Affairs. We are here to present AB 406, which aims to make various changes relating to health. My background is in mental health. I have provided mental health services for about 10 years. And my experience with mental health, that emotional intelligence is needed when providing these services. And we have seen a new tool. AI has been a part of our world, and it's slowly changing our world. And it's a good tool. But AI does not provide that emotional intelligence that we need. And data could be misleading, and data could be biased. And it's important that we have humans that have lived experiences providing these services and giving these insights to their patients. And let's be honest, humans make mistakes, and AI is based off human intelligence. And that's why it's important that we have a licensed human, a licensed professional, an individual who went to school for years and was tested on this material. So I will give you a little background information for AB 406. AB 406 addresses the growing intersection of technology and mental health services in Nevada schools and healthcare systems. The bill ensures that sensitive mental health functions remain in the hands of qualified professionals rather than being delegated by automated systems. The bill reflects to a broader commitment to upholding the integrity of mental and behavioral health services amidst the growing use of artificial intelligence. This legislation reflects Nevada's commitment to balancing technological innovation with the integrity and quality of mental health care provided in both educational and healthcare settings. This bill still recognizes the benefits of using technology to support administrative tasks, but by establishing clear standards and safeguards, AB 406 aims to protect vulnerable populations and ensure professional judgment remains central to the delivery of mental health services. This bill has some major amendments. I say being a freshman legislator, you learn a lot. So I had to amend a lot. And so the bill just mainly focuses on the prohibiting AI from being a licensed mental health provider. And we do have a friendly amendment that everyone should be provided with. With the chair permission, I will now like to hand over my presentation to the co-presenters.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Tess Opferman, and I am here on behalf of the National Association of Social Workers. We do have Kyle Hillman on Zoom, so I'll give it to him after, and then I think we'll be able to see him on this TV. But I'll go into a little bit. Oh, there he is. Perfect. So Kyle Hillman is the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the National Association of Social Workers. So I'll get started. As we know, AI has exploded in the last couple of years. Because of this body needs to think critically about some of the protections we put in place this session. AI technology can be helpful, but it can also be dangerous. Despite rules created to prevent AI from engaging in certain topics, we have also found that AI learns to break its own rules. For instance, ChatGPT has been engaging in romantic relationships with people and having sexual dialogue, even though there are rules in place that in theory should prevent ChatGPT from having this type of conversation. One place in particular that raises concern is the use of AI for clinical therapy. There are apps that are coming out that advertise as therapy, but there is no person who actually interfaces with the individual getting therapy. There is no human that can see if someone is having a mental health crisis and can respond appropriately. Earkick and Scintily are a few apps that advertise as therapists, but they have no license to actually provide therapy because there is no person that interfaces with the client. Even more concerning, insurance companies are seeing AI as a potential cost-saving measure, a cheaper therapy option that does not require human interaction. This is incredibly dangerous, and we are seeing instances of AI offering advice that has ended in tragedy. So I want to give you two examples of stories that we know of. So one, in February of 2024, 14-year-old Sewell Setzer III died by suicide. After beginning to use Character AI, a chatbot that simulates a fictional character and advertises as AI that feels alive, Setzer became noticeably withdrawn, spending more and more time alone in his room. His mental health suffered, and he turned to the chatbot for support. He began having suicidal thoughts and shared this with the chatbot. In one message, he wrote, "He wouldn't want to die a painful death." The bot responded, "Don't talk that way. That's not a good reason not to go through with it." He later died by suicide. On another occasion, a graduate student consulted Google's Gemini for a homework-related question about aging adults. Gemini and the student had a back-and-forth conversation about the challenges older adults face, such as elder abuse, age-related changes in memory, and living on fixed incomes. Gemini suddenly changed the tone and wrote, "This is for you, human. You and only you. You are not special, you are not important, and you are not needed. You are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die. Please." AI gets confused. It doesn't always say the right thing, and it can be taught to break its own rules. This bill does not seek to stop AI chatbots as a whole, but at the very least, we can prevent AI from providing professional mental health support services. I'll pass it to Kyle momentarily, but I do want to quickly go over the amendment just to clarify any confusion. I know there was some opposition or concern in the bill with relation to the mental health absences that would happen in school, so we worked closely with the school districts, and all of that is amended out. The only portions that still relate to schools are that it would prevent school social workers, psychologists from using AI in schools, but there's nothing in the bill that has to do with mental health absences or bullying absences. All of that has been removed from the bill. With that, I will pass it to Kyle Hillman, who is on Zoom, the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the National Association of Social Workers.
Thank you, Chair Torres, Fawcett, and Vice Chair Ruben De Silva for the opportunity to discuss AB 406. For the record, my name is Kyle Hillman, spelled Kylehillman, and I serve as the Executive Director of the National Association of Social Workers here in Nevada. AB 406 is an essential step forward in protecting
I'm not sure if that's our internet or I'll go ahead and just wait for AVH.
than chatbot replacements for qualified mental health professionals.
I
I
apologize, sir. Would you be able to restart? Your internet paused for a moment, and so we cut out from basically everything you've said.
I'm so sorry. Yes. I'll start from the beginning. Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett and Vice Chair Ruben De Silva, for the opportunity to discuss AB 406. For the record, my name is Kyle Hillman, spelled Kylehillman, and I serve as the Executive Director of the National Association of Social Workers Nevada Chapter. AB 406 is an essential step forward in protecting the mental health and well-being of Nevada residents, including our students, and it's critically important that we address this issue this session. The bill clearly sets responsible boundaries for the use of AI technologies, ensuring these systems serve only as supportive administrative tools rather than chatbot replacements for our qualified mental health professionals. In Section 2, AB 406 prohibits AI chatbots from performing functions and duties of a school counselor, school psychologist, or school social worker. We feel this body should be extra cautious with the conversations and data of our students with disabilities and feel this section is absolutely necessary. In Section 7, AB 406 prevents AI providers from marketing their systems as capable of delivering clinical mental health care or suggesting they can replace licensed mental health professionals altogether via an AI chatbot. It further prohibits artificial intelligence systems from advertising that they are a provider of mental or behavioral health care, that they're a therapist, they're a clinical therapist, a social worker, a counselor, a psychiatrist, a doctor, or any other term commonly used to refer to provider of professional health or behavioral health care. In Section 7, it further authorizes the Division of Public and Behavioral Health to investigate instances that violate these restrictions with allowance for a fee not to exceed $15,000 per incident, and requires the division to create information on how someone may seek out mental health care, including low-cost mental health care, as well as guidance to individuals who seek out mental health care and are considering things like chatbots. Section 7 explicitly lays out that members of the clergy who are providing religious counseling shall not be subject to penalties regarding non-licensed behavioral health practice, exempts materials meant to provide advice and guidance for self-help purposes as long as it doesn't purport to offer or provide professional mental health or behavioral health care, and exempts the use of AI used for administrative purposes. In Section 8, the bill further explains administrative purposes to include things like scheduling, managing records, billing patients, analyzing data for operational purposes, and organizing and tracking notes related to the individual session with a patient. It also requires the provider of the mental and behavioral health care that they shall independently review the accuracy of every report, data, or other information compiled, summarized, analyzed, or generated by AI. There's a lot of products now that create therapy notes for therapists. This section just makes sure that the process is not fully automated and that the therapist is still responsible for what the AI outputs. I want to let the committee know that in trials of some of this software, the AI has at times hallucinated and added details that didn't actually take place in the session. Licensed mental health professionals, including clinical social workers, complete extensive education, rigorous field work, and thousands of hours of supervised postgraduate clinical work. The extensive training prepares them to handle complex emotional and psychological situations with empathy, ethical judgment, and professional competence. In contrast, AI chatbots and similar technologies, despite their administrative advantages, inherently lack the human qualities essential to effective mental health care. Recent incidents clearly illustrate those dangers. As mentioned, Google AI chatbot advised the student to please die. AI platforms such as Character AI have been implicated in tragic cases involving self-harm and suicide. A Belgian man reportedly took his life after extensive interaction with an AI chatbot. An AI chatbot set up by the National Eating Disorders Association was shut down after it provided harmful advice, including suggesting weight loss and calorie counting to individuals suffering from eating disorders. And a recent research has shown that AI systems such as ChatGPT experience heightened anxiety and biases when exposed to emotionally charged content, resulting in compromised and potentially unsafe responses. The study was particularly interesting in that AI is basically just data dumped into a system, reconfigured, and then it's pumped back out in a different output. What they found, though, was that when the AI system received massive amounts of trauma-based data from users, it formed bias towards self-harm and other negative outcomes. And when the researchers tried to reset the system back to zero, those biases, they couldn't get it back to zero due to the amount of data it received before. And this last part, I kind of want to really highlight to the committee. It becomes even more problematic when we consider the broader implications of data privacy. One of the most sought after data sets by large corporations involves sensitive information from individuals dealing with mental health issues, depression, or traumatic experiences such as sexual assault. Unfortunately, these individuals are often targeted because their emotional vulnerability can make them more susceptible to impulse purchases like vacations, cars, or luxury items. Many AI-based products listen to users' conversations or interact directly with them, yet we have almost no controls or regulations regarding how this deeply personal data is used or to whom it is sold. In fact, numerous products being used in Nevada today automatically listen to your clinical sessions to help create treatment plans and therapy notes, yet that data storage and usage remains unregulated. Even if this data is being de-identified after therapy notes are created, we have concerns that is similar to how de-identified data from our cell phones can be still re-identified to the user based on additional data sets. Your personal conversations with your clinical therapist might fall to the same fate. Even more concerning, chatbots aren't regulated in the same way as clinical professionals, and users often sign away their data unknowingly with terms and condition click boxes. Assembly Bill 406 appropriately recognizes AI's potential as a useful administrative tool, but draws a crucial line to protect patient safety and maintain high standards of mental health care. It ensures that Nevadans continue to receive the compassionate, competent, and professional care they deserve from qualified licensed practitioners. On behalf of the National Association of Social Workers Nevada chapter, I respectfully urge you to support AB 406. Thank you for your time, your thoughtful consideration, and your dedication to protecting the mental health and well-being of all Nevadans.
And with that, Chair, we are open to questions.
Thank you. And I know that we have an amendment in front of us, so I just want to remind members that all the language, because it took me, I had to look through it again, all the language in orange with double underlining is deleted language that was originally in the original bill. So just that, as you know, I know that there were some things in there that I saw that continued to address like absences and stuff like that, but I just want to make sure members know that that language has been removed and this bill now only pertains to the AI conversation that we've had. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for bringing this bill. As you mentioned, there's a lot of good uses of AI, but then as it develops, and people use it in harmful ways, that's what we need to be looking at. So I just want to make sure, to me, I feel like this bill is doing basically three things. A public school counselor can't use AI for counseling or any type of mental health in a school setting. Then Section 8. Okay, Section 7, sorry, skip 7. Our AI provider can't make any claims that they are able to provide mental or behavioral health. And then Section 8, they can use AI for like administrative purposes and things like that, but not in their counseling. Do I have those three things correct?
I'll look to Kyle if he wants to add anything, but Tess Opperman, for the record, you've essentially covered what our goal with the bill is, yes. And Kyle not. Tess Opperman, for the record, Kyle did nod in agreement.
Assemblymember Orentlicker.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this bill. I want to also get into some of the clarification. I understand the problem of not having ChatGPT be your therapist, but I wonder if we've also prohibited too much else. And I'm not an expert in artificial intelligence, so I'm not sure all that's captured, but the definition seems kind of broad. And I'm looking at the duties of a school psychologist in NRS 391.294. And there are a lot of things there, A through M, as in Mary. And some of them are collecting and analyzing data. Let's see, there was conducting research. And I can see how artificial intelligence would be very useful if I were a school psychologist and having to analyze data and do research and some of these other tasks. And does the bill really prevent the psychologists from using artificial intelligence only in kind of operational, administrative ways and not as an assistant in doing their providing services? Because I know if practicing physicians find AI very helpful as an adjunct, and I'm worried that we might be excluding a lot of useful uses of artificial intelligence.
Jovan Jackson, for the record, thank you for your concerns. They're very important. So the bill is guaranteeing that AI cannot be the license provider. AI cannot be the licensed social worker. AI cannot be the psychiatrist or the psychologist. Now, if that licensed provider wants to use AI as a tool, it could be used as a tool, but AI cannot be the licensed provider. And I will defer to Tez.
And I'll actually look at Kyle Hillman if you want to add to this. Yep.
Kyle Hillman, for the record. When it comes to the schools specifically, they are prohibited from using those tasks when we're talking about school psychologists, a school social worker, and a school counselor in this bill. I think this body has a responsibility to put some and heightened protections when we're talking about the population that those individuals are working with, and making sure that the data that's being analyzed and that individual conversations for that population is not being sent to some guy's basement and then resold on the market. However, in Section 8, it does allow the professional psychologists, counselors, et cetera, to use AI for administrative purposes, including data analysis, et cetera. So there are some exemptions for those that are not school-based settings, but the bill does restrict at the school-based settings for those specific professions.
Well, is this something you would be willing to reconsider? I understand we don't want these providers to get data, but as I say, to have just operational, that seems like a long way from the examples you've given about the misuses of AI, because there are a lot of good uses, and I'd hate to see them throwing out the baby with the bathwater here.
Tess Opferman, for the record. I think we're happy to continue to have conversations about, I mean, I think we've covered that we really don't want AI to have personal information about children in schools, and I think that makes logical sense. But we are more than happy to continue to have conversations about all of the duties of a school social worker and make sure that if there are duties in which they are using AI as some sort of support services that we don't think are protected by the things they are allowed to do in Section 8, I think we're happy to have conversations to see if there's anything that needs to be changed in that.
Thank you. And kind of following up on that question, I think something that might be worth considering is making sure that the data is owned by the district and by that or a school, depending, if it's a charter school or a district school, but just making sure that that's not data that it would then be owned by a third-party vendor that could then be sold or used to inform other systems. So that might be another consideration. Assemblymember Mosca.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this important bill. While you're presenting it, really made me think about, do we know what is the current policy in the state or at all the districts? Do they use this right now? Is this trying to be preventative? Would love just some context.
Tess Opferman, for the record. In terms of the school districts, I will say they had absolutely no concerns about that portion about I'm not exactly sure in which ways social workers in schools are using AI, if they're using it, to help book appointments. But that piece was not a concern. I think in general, this bill is somewhat preventative, knowing that AI is increasing in popularity, and really it's target. I think the school piece is in there, and it's an important piece. The bill as a whole is targeting the development of apps that are advertised. I mean, they'll pop up on Facebook where it says, hey, mental health support, you can get counseling through this app, just talk to this app, and there's no person that's looking at it, but they are advertising as mental health services. So that's the bigger picture here, not just the school piece. But in terms of the school piece, I do know that the schools have not had a problem with the elimination of school psychologists, social workers from being able to use AI in schools for appointments.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. So do you know how the bigger picture that you're just describing, how is that currently regulated? Or
I'll defer to Kyle Hillman, but there's very little regulation.
Yeah, for the record, Kyle Hillman, I just want to state that this is kind of the Wild West right now. There isn't a lot of regulation around these AI chatbots. You and I, as individuals that don't have a social work degree or a psych degree, or I guess I'm oversimplifying, I don't know everybody's background, but can't just go on the corner and open up a therapy shop and start providing clinical therapy. We're not licensed professionals. We're not allowed to actually do that work in the state of Nevada. However, these AI chatbots are kind of an unregulated space right now, and so they're able to promote to folks. We've seen them say that even offer clinical therapist and then show a therapist as the opposite, saying this is a cheaper alternative. But these individuals that are creating these algorithms, that are creating these products, they're not licensed professionals either. Our organization feels this is like a very dangerous trend. There are really great uses of AI. That's why we put in some of those administrative functions. Our members are utilizing this now, but this is a space that Nevada needs to regulate to protect its members, as well as to ensure that everybody who needs clinical mental health is getting somebody who's actually qualified, and not just an algorithm that somebody out east actually created.
Thank you. I'll go next to Assemblymember Hanson, and then I'll go to Assemblymember Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. And yes, we really are in a new frontier. And I remember when drones first came on the scene, and the legislature was trying to deal with those, I think back in 2011. And now we're a little more familiar with drones and how we need to watch. And I feel like that's where we are with AI. And so my daughter's a licensed mental health professional, and I know that she's had major concerns, just even on social media, the amount of coaching, life coaching, and messages that are being given that it is out of control, even in that space. And that's not AI, that's just humans even doing it. So I really see a need for this. I appreciate you bringing this. I'm still wrapping my head around some of it and going with the amendment. But as far as confining it to that AI portion, I did have a question in there somewhere. Let me get to it. My colleague brings up, we don't want to discourage the ability to get data for those professionals that are the actual licensed professionals in the school. So I'm not necessarily, I just want to make sure it's clear. They can use the AI for data collection or research. They could use AI for those types of things, just not the actual AI to give the advice directly. Did I get that right?
Tess Opferman for the record. That is correct. So I'll just read what they are allowed to use AI for in Section 8. So scheduling appointments, managing records, billing patients and managing records related to billing, analyzing data for operational purposes, and organizing, tracking, and managing files or notes relating to an individual session with a patient. So that's currently what we have in Section 8. That would be protected use of AI.
Follow-up, Chair? And I apologize, you might have mentioned some of this. I had to step out of the room for a few minutes. Where did we get those recommendations for what they could use it for? Is this coming from, and again, you might have stated this earlier on the record.
I will let Kyle Hillman with the National Association of Social Workers take it.
For the record, Kyle Hillman. Yeah, we reached out to psychologists, counselors, social workers, and we kind of did kind of an audit of how they're actually using AI at this time, and identified places where AI is actually being useful, as well as where those efficiencies have kind of helped their practice. And so this list is inclusive of all those kind of recommendations that we were able to receive from those different professions. I will say, like, there's probably additional protections that this body probably needs to look at in the future. I don't know if you know this, but some of you are currently in clinical sessions, and your sessions are currently being recorded and transcribed and run through an AI database, because those products already exist on the market to help create therapy notes and to help them bill. And so, we try to balance the efficiencies of some of the administrative functions and the tools that the clinical professionals need to use with the reality of we need to protect our clients as well as those individuals' personal data, so that the actual act of that clinical therapy isn't happening by an AI tool, but the supportive functions can be.
Thank you for that clarification, and I appreciate what you're trying to do for kids in school and to protect them. Thank you.
Assemblymember Lewer Hatch.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you for bringing this. As a teacher, I talk to my students about AI. It's a huge issue. When I'm teaching them media literacy, I teach them not to use AI for research, because there are so many frequent mistakes and the hallucinations. And so I understand where you're coming from there. My question is actually about the FERPA and the HIPAA concerns, that if we are putting really sensitive data into these systems, and as the chair mentioned, we don't know who has the ownership of it, there's a danger there. So can you speak to those concerns?
Kyle, I'll let you take it.
For the record, Kyle Hillman. Yeah, I mean, this is an area that we're actually, our organization is actually working at the federal level as well to try to get some federal clarifications on it. So a lot of these products that directly market to clinical therapists as an additional tool claim that they're HIPAA compliant, claim that they follow privacy and data rules. However, all of that data is leaving that clinician's computer, right? So when, for example, I go into a session and I'm talking to my clinical professional, and they're recording that and transcribing this for AI output. It's leaving that computer. It's going to another computer. It is being fed into an algorithm, and we're being told that it's HIPAA compliant, that the data is de-identified, that the data isn't being shared, and that the data is being destroyed. But right now in this country, we don't have those kind of levels of protection to verify that information isn't being offloaded into another database, isn't being resold, isn't being utilized in other ways. I will say that data is critically important to large corporations right now. They really are chasing the data of individuals with mental health disorders, the data of individuals that have had traumatic events to market to those individuals. And so, we have larger concerns about where all this AI data continues to go. Like I said, the products that are marketed directly to clinical professionals supposedly is HIPAA compliant, as well as federal privacy laws compliant. That is not the case, though, and I want to stress this, for these AI chatbots that are advertising today that they do clinical therapy, because those individuals aren't held to those same standards. So you get this on a mobile app. You can do a search right now in your Apple store for them. You are signing away that they can use that data. So this is, again, one of the reasons why this bill is so critically important, and something that we need to do now is to kind of curb this this kind of data reach of our private data of individuals that don't quite understand that the conversations that they're having is going into some database that we don't have control over, and they don't have those kind of HIPAA compliant regulations and controls that you would have in a normal therapeutic session.
Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate all this discussion about AI use in social workers and their meetings with their clients, but I want to focus back on the issue at the schools. And help me if I'm getting this wrong. My takeaway from the discussion we've had here is that AI cannot be used by the social workers or mental health professionals in the schools at all. Is that a correct interpretation of this bill?
Kyle, do you want to take that?
Sure. Kyle, for the record, Kyle Hillman. As currently drafted, this bill does restrict those professions in the schools from using AI for their normal functions and responsibilities.
Jovan Jackson, for the record. Anytime you use ChatGPT or Gemini, it is public information. It does violate HIPAA. It does violate patients' rights, students' rights, privacy, unless AI is internal within the school, unless the school is providing all the data inside an AI program that they have established, which Chair mentioned, and I think that is a great idea. If the school has a internal data system where the AI could only pull from that data, I think that would be efficient and something that we could consider.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that answer. And this bill is dealing with two very different situations. The general public and their use of social services versus the schools. And I'm just trying to make sure we're drawing a clear distinction, because I am hearing a clear distinction in the bill between those two environments as it relates to the use of AI. And the discussion was just said that it's about the normal functions and duties of the school counselor. Again, I'm maybe being too pedantic here, but could the school counselor use AI for anything? Because normal functions and duties could include scheduling something.
Kyle Hillman, for the record, as currently drafted, they would not be able to do that in their functioning as a school counselor, as a social worker, et cetera. I think, as Tess mentioned, this is an area that I think that there's some interest in exploring if there's a way to make sure that the private data of these students, particularly this population that my school social workers are serving, that data isn't being shared outside the school. I think there's an opportunity to amend this bill to accommodate those opportunities. But at this point, my members are saying that information being shared outside of the school is a no-go. And that's something that they would want.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I felt like I was confused, and I'm sure the rest of the members of the committee weren't confused, but I was. And I just wanted to make sure I got that on the record.
Thank you for that very pedantic question. I can always count on Assembly Member DeLong for an ACT word. At this time, I'll go ahead and go to Assembly Member Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Assemblymember DeLong might have touched on this a bit. So, the system's being used, so say we are in a school. It's not an internal system that keeps it confidential. And then I guess I'm also wondering, which my original question was, I'm really wondering if there is a school social worker dealing with a child. And that, because you're a licensed clinical social worker, you have certain tools that you understand. Not all people are good writers. So when they go to craft the report, now what we're saying is you can't get any, and there's scientific support to look at different data that's out there and programs and things that, as we are making these advances, right? So like as a person, I might not be aware of the full use of a program that might work well for a certain child. If I put this into the system, would it spit back out this data that would give me something else to consider to help my patient? But now can I not use that because it was AI generated and because I didn't generate it on my own? I guess is where I'm going.
Tess Opferman, for the record. So the I don't think our intent here, and maybe we need to clarify the language a little bit. The intent is not to prohibit a school social worker from going to ChatGPT and saying, hey, I'm looking for a resource to help me with X, Y, and Z. Do you have thoughts? So I think that if we need to clarify that language, I don't think it's saying that a social worker can never use ChatGPT to ask any question the way I might, ask ChatGPT a question in preparation for a testimony. I think it is more focused on using AI services to provide mental health to students, mental health support. And so if we need to clarify that a little bit to make it so that social workers can use AI in the general sense of, hey, I have a quick question and I want to throw it into a chat bot to get information back. That's one thing. That's very different from having an appointment recorded and listened to by an AI bot and then notes recorded on that appointment. And so I think that's the differentiation there, making sure that there isn't private information of those students being shared. But if it's a casual question, non-clinical type question, then a social worker could turn to an AI chatbot for that.
Quick follow-up, Chair, for the record. So the intention is to ensure that a person is treated by a person. That is the intent.
Correct. Okay. Tess Opferman for the record.
Thank you. Assembly members, any additional questions? It doesn't appear that there's any additional questions at this time. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all those examples of how people can apparently use these AI bots to have intimate relationships. So it was really insightful. At this time, I'll go ahead and invite anyone wishing to testify in support of AB 406. We'll go ahead and limit testimony, just as we have for previous hearings, to 20 minutes support, 20 minutes opposition, 20 minutes neutral. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, Chair Torres Fawcett and members of the committee. My name is Carissa Pierce, Carissa Pearce, and I am the Government Affairs Manager with Children's Advocacy Alliance. We are an independent voice for Nevada's children to ensure that every child in Nevada thrives. And I'm here in strong support of AB 406, which is a thoughtful and important step towards strengthening online mental health protections for our children in Nevada. At CAA, one of our top priorities is expanding access to timely, developmentally appropriate mental and behavioral health care for Nevada's children. We appreciate this bill's focus on quality and safety. It makes clear that artificial intelligence and unlicensed providers cannot take the place of trained mental health professionals. In a time when youth mental health needs are growing, AB 406 moves us in the right direction, supporting real people doing real work with children and reinforcing that students deserve care that is trusted, ethical, and grounded in best practices. And I'll clarify, all children, not just students, since there was that amendment. Our youth are growing up easily able to access artificial intelligence, which is being integrated into almost every part of our internet and technology. We must create guardrails for safe practices of AI for children. We've already seen devastating consequences of youth turning to AI for support and comfort, and them receiving inappropriate feedback because AI simply does not understand the nuance of youth mental health. AI is not qualified to provide mental health support for our children, and we must put provisions in place to keep them safe. We urge your support for AB 406 on behalf of Nevada's children, and thank you for the opportunity to provide comment.
Good afternoon, Chair and Assembly Committee on Education. My name is Nicole Flangas, Flangas. For the record, on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards, we want to thank the bill sponsors for bringing this bill. AI and its role within our schools is something we are figuring out within this new tech landscape. This is a call to action to protect our students from the harmful effects of AI as an interface for a mental health crisis and mental health care. This is clear. So we stand in support of AB 406.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Sabrina Schnur, SABRINA-SCHNUR, and I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada Psychiatric Association. We appreciate the sponsor. We appreciate the bill. We especially appreciate that the bill lists psychiatrists and mental health professionals, which certainly cannot be replaced by AI. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przenski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we are in support of the amended bill. This is the Wild West when we look at the AI, whole field of AI, I guess. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot more discussion in the next few sessions that this legislature sees in the next few years to try to get things under control. But this is a good step, and we appreciate it, and we're support.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else here in Carson City, nor in Las Vegas, ABH, is there anyone on the lines wishing to testify in support of AB 406?
Chair, there are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and move to opposition. Is there anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 406? Seeing none here in Carson nor in Las Vegas, ABH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to AB 406?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and move to neutral. Is there anyone wishing to testify neutral to AB 406?
Thank you. NSCA, Alexander Marks, I'm ARKS. NSCA is still digesting the amendment to AB 406, and Assemblymember Orntlicker made some valid points that we'll need to know the answer to and discuss with our members. It sounds like we're going to get those from the sponsor of the bill based on this presentation. But the presentation did raise some interesting issues about mental health care being grounded in human connection, empathy, and accountability, qualities that AI cannot replicate. Relying on chatbots for clinical therapy does risk misdiagnosis, inadequate care, and dangerous outcomes for vulnerable individuals. So this is going to be an interesting conversation to keep having so that there are safeguards and patients receive ethical, evidence-based treatment and from qualified individuals like school counselors, school psychologists, and school social workers. We just need some additional answers before figuring out which table we're supposed to be at. Thank you.
Hello, Kalen Evans, President of the Washoe Education Association. Just want to ditto some of the remarks that were just said. Appreciate the comments by Assemblyman Orentlicker and Assemblymember DeLong. Just kind of needing to digest some of these amendments, understanding that we have amazing, amazing counselors and social workers and psychologists in our schools who are doing, God's work with our children, and making sure that that is protected. That human aspect is where we're at, but just wanting to make sure that we aren't prohibiting our folks from using the effectiveness that AI can do as a tool. So I just appreciate those comments, and we will look forward to the changes. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else wishing to testify in neutral here in Carson City nor in Las Vegas. ABH, is there anyone on the line?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite the bill sponsor for any closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for hearing this bill. I do know there's some confusion about Section 2, so we are more than happy to just have some conversations, make sure that it is not overly burdensome for our school social workers and psychologists. That is not the intent. So we'll work with all parties and make sure that Section 2 is cleaned up and we fix up that language.
Jovan Jackson, for the record. I think our biggest concern is that AI isn't used for an advertised tool, a tool that's used to advertise for therapy to the general public. So we'll definitely consider some amendments around the school social work, which we know that is not a service that's not advertised for profit to the public. So we'll definitely make some considerations. And in closing, AB 406 aims to strike a balanced approach by embracing the importance of AI in administrative support while safeguarding the quality and integrity of mental health care delivered to the public. I urge your support for this measure, and I just want to say thank you to the Most Educated Committee.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining the Most Educated Committee today. With that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on AB 406. And at this time, we'll go ahead and open up the hearing on AB 412. I'm going to go ahead and take a 1-minute recess. The Assembly Committee on Education will reconvene. I apologize to members of the public. I know that some of our members will kind of have to leave at certain times to attend other meetings and are presenting other bills, including one of our members here today presenting a bill. So please just don't take that as a sign of disrespect. I know that they'll continue to do their homework. We just have a lot going on in the building this afternoon. At this time, we'll go ahead and proceed with AB 412. And open the hearing on AB 412. When you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett and Vice Chair De Silva, and members of the most scholarly committee in the building. Assemblymember Joe Dahlia for the record, Joedalia, representing Assembly District 29. I'm here to proudly present Assembly Bill 412, which would authorize, to the extent funding is available, the development of school campus maps for public and charter K through 12 schools to enable first responders to more efficiently address emergencies where every minute may count. With me here today to co-present, I have Chris Anderson, who will address the mechanics of the bill, and Austin Sprague, sorry if I mispronounced that, who can speak to the unique value of these maps and how they've been successfully deployed in other contexts. As a dad with 3 little girls, what this bill means to me is peace of mind. We can't prevent every emergency, but we can give our first responders every possible advantage to protect our kids, as well as our educators and support staff. For those reasons, I urge your support of AB 412, and at this time I will turn the presentation over to Chris Anderson to walk you through the bill and our amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Dahlia. Chris Anderson, for the record, ChrisAnderson, with Sala Consulting, today here on behalf of Critical Response Group. I'm from a family of many educators. My mother was a high school special ed teacher. My father's a school bus driver, and there are several other school professionals in my family, including my sister who's here today. So I'm proud to be running you through the mechanics of this bill with that in mind. With your permission, Madam Chair, we're going to present this bill as the amended version that you have in front of you. And I'll go through the bill sections and highlight these significant changes that are made in the amendment. Section 1 creates the School Safety Data Grant Program within the Nevada Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security as part of the division's critical infrastructure purview. It provides for state, local, and grant funding options, as well as donations and in-kind donations. We're getting creative in this tight fiscal environment that we find ourselves in. To enhance coordination with schools and relieve administrative burden on schools, law enforcement agencies will apply for the grant and work with schools within their counties to implement the enhanced mapping at the school's option. So nothing forces this on schools. Each school can decide for themselves whether they want this enhanced mapping done. Subsection 4 lays out the mapping requirements that meet the industry standard. Just for the committee's edification, there are roughly 13 providers in the United States that do critical infrastructure mapping, and the requirements laid out in subsection 4 do not favor any one company. Subsection 6 makes it clear that mapping data belongs to the schools. Subsection 7 has relevant definitions, and subsection 8 provides for confidentiality that matches the confidentiality afforded to school emergency operations plans, or EOPs. Section 2 caps grant contributions at $2.5 million, which that amount would cover every public school in the state, including charter schools, and it also provides that funds revert after 2 years if they're unspent. Section 3 encourages schools to also implement exterior master key lockboxes to address that critical friction point for public safety when they arrive on school campuses. And I've heard from some members of public safety around the building that those lockboxes are implemented at some schools today, and public safety folks have found those to be useful. In closing, this bill would give schools, especially underserved schools, the same public safety friendly mapping that many government buildings, including this campus, have today. And with that, I'd like to invite our subject matter expert, Austin Sprague, to walk through what this mapping looks like and the challenges that it addresses.
Great, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. If I could get a thumbs up from anyone, that's coming up okay.
That's good.
All right, appreciate it. Well, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Austin Sprague. For the record, that is AUSTIN SPRAGUE. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Critical Response Group, or CRG. And my experience with mapping is really derived from two different worlds. So domestically, my company has mapped over 20,000 K through 12 schools in accordance with the standards that you see in this bill, which is walking on average 25 to 30 schools every single day. Prior to joining CRG, I was a Special Operations Team Commander in the Marine Corps, and many of the philosophies that you see in this bill are taken straight from best practices honed in the military special operations community, an organization that uses maps every single day to communicate in unfamiliar locations, under stress, and in a joint environment, meaning there are members of our team on any given mission who would be wearing different uniforms, using different technology, sometimes speaking entirely different languages. And we all need to come together and coordinate, communicate, and navigate through a place we'd never been to before. And while that might sound like an overseas problem, those are the exact circumstances facing a first responder when they show up to a school in Nevada during a critical incident. For them, it's a high-stress environment, just like it was for us. They're almost always operating in a multi-jurisdictional or joint response with people that they've never met before, using different technology platforms, and they have limited time to make life-saving decisions about how they navigate that site and react to that emergency.
And I'm just going to pause you just for a second because I know that some of my members are struggling to see the slides. I just want members to know that the slides are on Nellis. So if you'd like to access them on Nellis, they are made available there. Thank you. You can proceed.
Great, thank you. Picking up where I left off. So we have an assumption today that first responders automatically know all about every structure in their community and in the counties next door. And that's simply not the case. If an EMT is responding to a life-threatening medical event in the cafeteria of the school, or is told to park their ambulance outside of door 12, right now they have no idea where those locations are. The status quo for the vast majority of schools in Nevada, and frankly across the country, in terms of imagery to aid first responders, is architectural diagrams or blueprints. And these diagrams or schematics are fundamentally designed for construction, not navigation or communication. And really there's three core problems with these blueprints. The first being that they're oriented in what's called plan or project north, which is an arbitrary direction that doesn't match the imagery an user would find on mapping software or satellite imagery. Second, these blueprints are structurally inaccurate as they don't account for years, sometimes even decades of renovations, changes, and demolitions at that school. Our company has been through over 100,000 unique buildings comprised of 50,000 different maps. We have yet to find a single accurate floor plan anywhere in the country. Didn't require some kind of update or modification to be true to what you'll find in the real world when you show up on site. And in many cases, the blueprints don't exist at all, either for a section of that school or for the entirety of that school. And lastly, the third problem is they don't have site-specific labeling that you would rely on in an emergency to convey location information. So if you look at the schematic that's on the screen or in the submitted testimony, and I told you there's a fire in the chemistry lab of this school or a suspicious person in the senior parking lot, you'd have no idea where those locations are. So this bill seeks to solve those exact problems. It affords schools the opportunity to take their outdated, inaccessible blueprints and school maps and help them evolve into an accurate, detailed, and verified via an on-site walkthrough communication tool that can assist a responder get to the right parking spot, the right door, the right room in as little time as possible. And most importantly, the provisions of the bill require that maps made in this style are provided to public safety agencies free of charge in any file format needed to fit on the software platforms that they already use, so that maps are available at their fingertips instantly in an emergency. No fees, no new software, no juggling between accounts to try and log in and access that crucial information. 17 other states have adopted school mapping status standards with the exact same language that you see here in this bill, and I appreciate this committee's efforts to bring this important initiative to the state of Nevada. And with that, I welcome any questions from the committee.
Thank you. Members, at this time, I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions. Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Assemblymember Dahlia, for bringing up this bill. I think it's always important to have like some kind of tactical understandings, in terms of emergency response. As a Marine as well, I will say that. Just got a quick question about other states. Has this been implemented in other states, and what's been the sort of residence there?
Go ahead, Austin.
No, I appreciate it. Austin Sprague for the record. First of all, Assembly Member Semper Fi, and thank you for your service. So 17 other states have some version of a school mapping data standard. In some of those states, the state decided at a state level to award one vendor the entirety of that school network. But I'd say in the vast majority of cases, somewhere around 13 or 14 states, they've set the standards that are really guardrails to ensure that if any vendor, any of those 13 vendors, is competing for this work, there's a level of consistency and there's a level of quality that's more about actually solving the safety problem, meaning you're walking the structure to ensure it's accurate, and you're distributing the map to every public safety agency on the tools they already use today. So really, it's just guardrails to ensure whoever's doing the work is doing it to a certain quality standard. And then from there, they leave it up to the school districts, or in this case, in Nevada, as the bill stipulates, it's in coordination with public agencies to find out the right vendor, the right tool that works for them, as long as they can comply with those basic standards. So in those states range everywhere from Texas to Michigan, Wisconsin, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware. So every color of the political rainbow. And in many of those states, 100% of the K through 12 school system, and some of them public and private, has been mapped, and those maps are on file with public safety today.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Lewer Hatch?
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you for caring about our kiddos' safety. As a teacher, this is very important to me, making sure that we are safe and that people can get in right away. But also as a teacher, I am fighting every single day to make sure every dollar gets to our classroom and that it is spent wisely and that we are not feeding the educational industrial complex. And so I just wonder, why is it that schools can't just map this themselves and give it to law enforcement if they want it? Why can't we create a box in front of our school that has a master key ourselves? Why do we need to hire vendors to do this?
Sure. Austin Sprague, for the record, I'm happy to address those concerns. I think one thing in my experience as it relates to maps is that they can sometimes be mistaken for a simple product because I'm looking at it, it's a visual depiction, it's something I may have seen before in a driving direction book or on Google Maps. It's not too hard to recreate. And I will absolutely believe that a school that might have a really advanced GIS department or a really motivated graphic designer might be able to make a pretty decent visual map of that school. But frankly, in our experience, there is really no what we would call sufficient emergency response map in any school across the country if it's not done by a professional services provider. And the reason for that is the data that goes into that map is a little more than just the visual. So it takes someone who has walked not one school, meaning their own, but walked hundreds, if not thousands of schools to be looking for certain features. Has the architecture of this room changed, this hallway changed? Are there certain naming conventions used for this room versus that room? Are different satellite imagery providers or fixed wing providers using different aerial imagery, and one has the parking lot, but one does not because it's out of date. So we look for things like that when we're doing our walkthrough and we stitch that all together. We're also looking for assets that a teacher's never looked for, the utility shutoffs, the HVAC systems, a number of features that might assist in that emergency. So that's just the visual side. An average walkthrough takes 3 to 4 hours for a high school. That, to your point, is not a time burden or a training burden or a technology burden we want to put on schools, principals, or other administrators. And then for the distribution side, in my mind, that's the bigger gap. So even if you were to create a great map and publish it in a PDF or a JPEG, that is one piece of a massive ecosystem when it comes to accessibility. So public safety today, if you were to walk into any fire department or police department across the state of Nevada, I guarantee you'll find somewhere in the range of 20, maybe even 30 different technologies that they're using for emergency call handling, that they're using for dispatch, that they're using for navigation to go to that site, that they're using to communicate while on that site about where an officer might be, where is it clear, where is it safe, where is it okay to evacuate students and staff. All those different technologies use different mapping standards. So you have to produce the file, the map itself in over a dozen different file formats to fit in all those systems. And in many cases, it's not just about hitting an upload button. You need to stream that data via cloud-based infrastructure. You need to set up legal and technological agreements with those companies to actually feed that data so it shows up right there in the fire truck or right there in the ambulance. So that's a level of technological sophistication that in my mind is just simply not possible at the school level. Hopefully that addressed your question.
No, it did. Thank you. And Chair, could I just have a brief follow-up? Thank you so much. So my follow-up is there anything in statute currently that is barring a school district or a law enforcement agency from contracting with someone like this and doing this on their own without us changing statute?
Chris Anderson, for the record. I'm not aware of a statute that specifically would prevent an educational setting from doing something like this. I'm not sure why that statute would exist. But with regards to the bill, I think it's important to set up a grant program in order to do this so that, to your point, school funds are not being pulled away from the classroom context and moved over to the safety side. And so we're hopeful that between the different funding avenues that are allowed within this bill, we'll be able to efficiently fund it and not take away from those educational purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, additional questions? I do not believe there are any additional questions at this time. Thank you so much for the presentation. At this time, I'll go ahead and invite anyone wishing to testify in support of AB 412.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards, testifying in support of a bill I wish we didn't have to have. This is one of those things that is just today's reality. And whether you're in an urban environment or a rural environment, whether it's a school shooting or some other kind of catastrophe, I think that this technology is something, because we have it, we should implement it. I like this bill because it is permissive. I like the bill a lot because it creates a grant. And I think that whoever the vendor is, having these tools at our fingertips for law enforcement and for emergency management is incredibly important. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przynski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we're in support of this bill. And I echo what my colleague Tom Clark said. It's too bad we have to have the bill, but ever since Columbine, things have never been the same in schools. And I think that this mapping, whether it's this company or whatever company, it's important that we're in close connection with our law enforcement folks who know where to go if there's a problem in a school and can help us out. So we're in support of the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jeff Rogan, Jeffrogan, and I'm here on behalf of Clark County. I'm also here on behalf of John Jones, a colleague of mine from the Clark County District Attorney's Office, who can't be here today to testify in support. Clark County and the Clark County District Attorney's Office support this bill. Because the school mapping data will be compatible with our local software programs, our emergency services will be able to respond more effectively and efficiently to our schools in the event of a crisis. This will be a great tool for our first responders and will help keep children safe. So we thank Assemblymember Dalio for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Chair Torres Fawcett, members of the committee. For the record, Chris Ferrari, on behalf of the Knox Company, here today in support of AB 412. I'd like to thank the bill proponents for allowing our friendly amendment, which is now Section 3 in the amended version. Facility access is critical to school safety, and a lockbox helps to complete the response ecosystem of notification and mapping. To Assemblymember LaRue Hatch's point, it's a very cost-effective way to do so as well. A lockbox, just like the name says, is a steel box that meets the highest UL safety standards and is placed in a strategic location that can hold keys, school maps, or other critical information. Many schools in Nevada already use these lockboxes for fire safety purposes in conjunction with local fire. That allows first responders to gain access to a building in an efficient manner. They can be placed in the front or the back, whichever is more efficient. And to bring this home a little bit, Clark County School District actually applied for a DOJ grant to purchase the lockboxes. They weren't afforded that grant yet, but the interest is there. Also, if we remember December 2023 with the active shooter on the UNLV campus, the law enforcement and others had to break down more than 500 doors on campus just to make sure the rooms were cleared and people were safe. So we thank the members of the committee for consideration and the bill sponsors for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairs and members of the committee. Sarah Adler, representing a coalition of Northern Nevada independent public charter schools. So the schools I represent are deeply grateful that charter schools are included in this legislation. It's particularly important for district-sponsored charter schools. They do not receive school police services from Washoe County School District. If they wanted those services, they would have to contract for them to the extent that they would have to pay full salary and benefits, which would be great if they could, but they cannot afford a full-time school safety officer for the size of their schools. So being able to be included in this protective measure, hopefully it will never be needed, but it would be essential that they could be immediately supported by public safety entities. So they are in support of AB 412. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair Torres Fawcett, Vice Chair De Silva, and members of the committee. I'm Anthony Curry, Director of Advocacy and Public Policy for Opportunity 180, a nonprofit working towards a North Star of every kid graduating high school, college, and career ready, prepared to live the life they dream. Central to our work is ensuring students have a safe environment in which to learn. And so with that, I'll ditto most of the points that were already made. And we support AB 412 because it promotes school safety, and we appreciate that the bill includes all public schools, including public charter schools. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else here in Carson City, so I'll go, and I don't see anybody in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 412?
Thank you, Chair. We currently have no callers on the line to provide testimony.
Thank you. At this time, I'll go ahead and go to opposition. Is there anyone wishing to testify in opposition here in Carson City or in Las Vegas? Seeing none, AVH, I will go to the lines and see if there's anyone wishing to testify in opposition to AB 412.
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll go ahead and go to neutral. I see none here in Carson City nor in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify neutral to AB 412?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite the speaker for any closing remarks. Nope, there's no additional closing remarks. Thank you. I appreciate it. And we will go ahead and close the hearing to AB 412. And at this time, I'll invite anyone wishing to testify in public comment. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 2 minutes. I ask that speakers state and spell their name for the record. Please begin when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Katie Vesna, K-A-T-I-E-V-E-Z-I-N-A, and this is my 7th year teaching. I'm currently teaching 2nd grade. Teaching is my second career. I moved from my corporate job in Kansas City to rural Nevada to become a teacher. Teaching is rewarding. Every day, I get to shape the future of Nevada. Future doctors, future educators, future Munster Jam drivers, future assembly members, and even future jobs we don't know exist yet. However, Nevada education scares me as a teacher and as a parent. This year, 84% of my district's 2nd grade class entered with skills at a kindergarten level or lower. That's a huge 2-year deficiency that teachers are supposed to close the gap on. Our district has 30% of unlicensed educators filling in for certified educators. This year, I've been hit by students, objects, or furnitures close to 60 times from one student alone. And that doesn't include the 4 others with very high social emotional needs that interrupt instruction on a daily basis. My students have been dealing with these behaviors from their peers since they were in kindergarten, and they think it's normal to have chairs flying across a classroom. I have parents who have to pay out of their own pocket to get their child the related services they need to be successful at school, and students whose data reflect a need for special education testing, but they aren't getting tested because our special education caseloads are rising. Our students and staff don't feel safe at schools anymore. Nevada needs to pass the plan because our kids are suffering at the expense of those making decisions who do not work directly in the classroom. Ask yourselves, if your kids, grandkids, nieces, and nephews were in failing classrooms where they don't feel safe, would you be okay with an 84% failure rate? Would you be okay knowing they are going to school in unsafe environments or going to have their learning constantly disrupted? As a teacher and as a mom, I want to urge the legislature to pass the plan. Nevada's future depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else here in Carson City, nor do I see anybody in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in public comment?
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Members, thank you for enduring this very long hearing that was slightly delayed due to a very long IFC meeting. Just please keep an eye out. I know that we will have a work session up this upcoming Tuesday, so we'll get those documents to you likely on Monday. Additionally, I know that we have to work on I'm going to take a look at the agenda and we'll be making some revisions. So know that the agenda will probably come sometime tomorrow. Well, maybe today. We'll see. We'll see how much time I have. But with that, we will go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.